So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adama Seal. I am the Assistant Director of Training and Capacity Building for the Children's Services Council of Broward County. Oh, sorry, let me keep happening. I gotta plug this out, I'm so sorry. I got some deliveries, Alexa's notifying me, I'm very sorry, my apologies. So yeah, that would have kept going for like the next 5 minutes. Assistant Director of Training and Capacity Building with the Children's Services Council of Broward County. Welcome you to our pre-bid conference for our trainer cadre RFQ. We recently did one, so it's hard for me not to say equity because I've been saying that for the past few weeks. We will be giving everyone an opportunity to get a little bit more familiar with the cadre application process. There are a few things that are a little bit new. We are now on a automated system, a new CAPS contracting application system that you'll learn a little bit more about. And I know that was different from when you submitted the last time a few years ago. So you'll find out a little bit more about CAPS. And then also we've expanded on a few of the topic areas. So we'll be talking to you a little bit more about that as well. We're gonna go through, and also to let you know, the application process also has been split in two. So we'll have there's an application for new applicants and also an application for existing current cadre members that will be returning. Everyone still does need to apply, from the beginning, but the application process for returning is not as in-depth as the application for brand new applicants that just want to join us for the first, 3 years of this new cycle. So I'm going to get into the document now. If we can put it up, if you have your own electronic copy, we do ask that you reserve any questions that you may have for the end of the presentation. Just kind of keep notes and you can refer back to the section. We also ask that if you are asking a question, and you can, just to be on camera. And while Nicolette, Roxanne, and I are presenting, that we mute any background noise. So before I start, I'm going to have the other members of the CSE Public Affairs and Organizational Development team introduce themselves, and we can start with you, Roxanne, if you'd like.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roxanne Smith. I'm the Senior Training Manager here at the CSE. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Nicolette Picardi, a Training Manager at CSE also. Good afternoon.
All right. I don't know if Yolanda's on with us, if she jumped on. We got a bunch of people. Yolanda, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yolanda Meadows, and I am the Administrative Assistant for the ACB and the Training Capacity Departments.
And she is as beautiful as her background inside and out. And we're seeing matching. So thank you. We have everyone accounted for it on our end. I will share greetings from our Chief, Sandra Bernard Bastian. Because of some other obligations related to the job, she won't be here with us today. She does send her well wishes and just wish you all the best of luck as you apply. And we are looking for those folks that are returning to rejoin us again, and for new applicants to join the fold and help grow the resources that we have here in the community. So I know that would be very close to her sentiments. This whole process has been very near and dear to her heart since she started, and she's been a very good leader to make sure that we have the resources and the skill building tools for our nonprofit community that they need to do the best job that they can for children and families. So that I'll share that greeting from Sandra. And then if we don't have any other major housekeeping rules, maybe Roxanne, that I might have missed, other than be mindful of your background, save questions to the end. Pretty robust presentation. We will be taking turns with different sections, and then you'll have plenty of time at the end of the presentation to ask questions. And then any questions that you don't ask today verbally, you'll have a small window of time to ask those questions in writing, and those questions will be posted throughout the duration of the procurement window. And also, let me see if I'm missing anything. And then all of the questions that will be asked today verbally will be transcribed and be included in that the posting that I mentioned that will go up in regards to questions submitted in writing. So first, we'll start with who may apply. The Children's Services Council of Broward County is seeking to establish a cadre of training experts to provide trainings that are culturally reflective of the diverse populations that make up Broward County, i.e. gender, race, religion. This cadre will enable CSC to continue engaging the most proficient and skilled trainers to meet the needs of individuals and nonprofit organizations serving children and family in our community. CSC invites individual trainers working as independent consultants or through the different business sectors, nonprofit and for-profit government to apply. All applicants must be approved to do business in the state of Florida and adhere to Florida Sunshine Law. Proof of nonprofit status, for-profit status, or governmental entity status must be submitted upon request by CSC staff. All applicants must meet the eligible requirements stated below and the submission requirements as described under section 1F, the application submission components. Organizations cannot apply. Oh, sorry, I think we have a typo there. Applications will be accepted from individual trainers only. Oh yes, so sorry, whole organizations can apply. And I'll go into depth and give a greater explanation of what that section means. So we will have organizations that are training entities and have upwards of 2 or more trainers. The organization itself cannot do a blanket application, meaning each individual member of that training organization must apply as an individual. So if Nicolette, Roxanne, and I all worked for CSE Training Inc., and I put in my application and get approved, it does not give Roxanne and Nicolette the authority to then train under the umbrella of the organization. Each individual member or staff person of that organization must submit a unique application and go through the application process. All right. So just so that's clear, we've had times where people have tried to do just one blanket application. So CSC is seeking the following: trainers with either a minimum of a bachelor's degree and 4 years experience in specified categories, or an associate's degree with a minimum of 5 years training experience and certification in category applying for. Experience and proficiency in facilitating a diverse array of learning techniques and formats, including online and in person. Training content relevant to CSE's audience, inclusive, culturally competent, and delivered in a manner that factors in cultural differences of diverse populations. Proficiency in one or more of the following categories: behavioral health, professional development and skill building, leadership development, youth topics, capacity building, diversity and inclusion, wellness, resiliency, mindfulness, and specialty topics. All right, so as stipulated by the state, the CSE is prohibited from funding any entity under the jurisdiction of the Department of Education, or DOE. Therefore, the School Board of Broward County, including public charter schools, cannot apply. Interested parties must access the request for qualifications from the CSE's website there. To access the RFQ from the website, applicants must register their contact information, and as instructed on the website. Only registered parties will receive email notification of the RFQ updates and addendums. So applications must be submitted through CSE's web-based contracting application procurement system, or CAPS, and you'll hear us refer to CAPS throughout the presentation, on or before May 21st, 2021 at 12 noon. No late submissions will be considered. CAPS can be accessed from the CSE website by selecting the funding opportunities link, and everything is automated, so everyone knows once the parameters of the procurement are set and have been publicly advertised, we as CSC staff cannot go and then amend or change. We cannot push for someone's application who missed the deadline. Again, it's all automated. The system will shut itself down and will preclude you from putting in an application past that time stated. So just to go over it again, because even in person, we know we had a lot of challenges. Please, you know, we're in the age of technology, internet goes down, connectivity gets lost even for a moment. It could be that moment that you were just about to press send on your application. So just be very mindful of that deadline, May 21st, 12 noon. So, all right, Nicolette, ready? This procurement addresses the following CSC service priorities for fiscal year 21-22. Service goal 1.1, support provider agencies' effort to enhance their infrastructure and service delivery effectiveness. And objective 1.1.1, providing training, coaching, and technical assistance to improve organizational effectiveness. So included in the document, you will see this table, and this table outlines very important dates that you should be mindful of if you wish to apply. And once you have applied, and if you are accepted, you just want to take note of. So right now we are in the pre-bid section. After that, there will be a window within which you can submit written questions. And that window, oh, Nick, I think you went a little bit further than I was. I'm sorry. Thank you. And that window will close on the 13th, and then those questions will be posted on the 17th. And then again, just to reiterate, the deadline for the application will be on the 21st at noon. System is automated, it will shut down. If by chance you submit an application with missing information and it is eligible to be cured, which means we will provide you with a window of time in which you can make corrections or submit something that was omitted or neglected in the application within the window that you're provided by CSC staff. You'll get a notice of fatal flaw or a cure notice. That notice will be submitted via email. It is very important that while we're still in this window that you are checking your email very regularly. Typically, we will send the email to the primary person, sometimes the secondary, but it is very important that the primary person on your application is checking their email pretty regularly to make sure that they don't miss this window. And then you also have a limited amount of time to submit whatever missing information has been requested of you. All right. Post that closing, the applications will go to rating. We have secured a panel of local experts. A lot of them are within our training community and folks that take training pretty regularly, or some of the large to mid-sized entities that use the trainings pretty regularly. So they will be helping us to rate and score these applications. And then from there, you will move on to application interviews. During the interviews period, you'll have an opportunity to elaborate a little bit more on the parts of your application that were not so clear to your raters, as well as just kind of give the raters a little bit more information in regards to your areas of expertise, your skill set, and then your focus area while you'll be a member of the cadre. The raters will then submit their final scores to us, and then we will bring the recommendations of the raters to our council on August 19th. Typically, this is done a month after, but the month of July, our council will not be in session. So the next available date to get that approval will be on the 19th. And then we will start with doing orientations and go into the contract negotiation period. And then our new fiscal year begins October 1 of 2021. So next, I will turn it over to Roxanne to talk to us I will turn it over to Pooja. I'm sorry, Pooja, I know you're here with us.
That's okay, good.
From our MIS department to talk to us a little bit more specifically about the CAP system.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pooja Yagnik. I'm just gonna go over the CAP system that Adama has mentioned earlier. Applications must be submitted through CSC's CAPS system. Training on CAPS will take place at the pre-bid conference today. So at the end of today's presentation, you will watch a video that guides you through the process of how to apply. for this RFQ. The video is also posted on our website at csebrow.org. It can be accessed anytime. It's under the funding opportunities link. Again, technical assistance on the use of CAPS will be available until 30 minutes before the deadline by submitting an email to helpdesk@csebrow.org. Although CSE will strive to respond promptly, an immediate response to tech assistant requests on the use of CAPS cannot be guaranteed. Additionally, technical assistance will only be available during regular business hours. Applicants should be aware of these limitations and the deadlines listed under the timetable important dates section of the procurement. Responses submitted in CAPS must be in plain text. There is no ability to format, which is underline, bold, highlight, etc. Additionally, word limits on responses must be followed. CAPS will not allow any words past the designated word limit for that response. I'm just going to highlight what Adama mentioned, that if you miss the deadline, there is no way that you'll be able to submit your application. So please be very mindful. If you have technical difficulties, please ask them in advance. We try our best to respond as soon as possible, but sometimes some requests can take more time. Also, if you are asking a question through the system, there is an Ask a Question link, which is available on your web page under your application. If you refer to the timeline on your procurement, that Ask a Question pod will go away once the deadline passes. So any questions, please submit them in a timely fashion. If you have, again, any questions, technical related, feel free to send an email to helpdesk@csebrow.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pooja. So Roxanne, I'm going to turn it over to you now to talk to us a little bit more about the application submission components.
Sure, and I just want to reiterate one thing as well. Oh, you can still scroll, Nick, it's okay. For our existing trainers, I know you're really comfortable reaching out to Nicolette and I when you have any issues. But when it comes to the CAP system, it's really important that you reach out to the help desk. They are the experts. And they will get to you much quicker than we can, because we're going to just go to them and ask them anyway. So please reach out to the help desk at cscbroward.org. And then I'm going to read application submission components. These are the components for the new trainers. When submitting the application through CAPS, the following documents will be required. Completed trainer Cadre application in CAPS, which will include the following. All questions were answered clearly and succinctly. Upload of resume or curriculum vitae reflecting required education and experience. Upload of references, and it's a minimum of 3, and you'll be giving name and contact information. Upload of a training outline that would be used during the interview, and there's a template that is provided for you for download to complete. Upload of tools and resources that would be used during the interview, and an upload of an original signed IRS W-9 form. And this is also available for download on the CAP system. Whoop, go back. Fatal flaw applications cannot be submitted after 12 p.m. You're going to hear us say this again and again because it's so important. Deadline is on May 21st. And please refer to the timeline, write them down in your calendar just to make sure that you're on time and you have it submitted on time. And although the following items are not required for the proposal itself, please know that if funded, we may ask you to provide the following. Current insurance certificate with professional liability coverage, current signature authority where applicable, client non-discrimination policy, incorporation certificate where applicable, 501c3 status from IRS where applicable, equal employment opportunity affirmative action policy, Americans with Disabilities compliance policy, women minority business certificate where applicable, and drug-free workplace policy. Application rating tool. And again, this is for the new applicants, and I'm just scrolling to my page because I had it written down just to summarize so we don't have to read line to line. But what you're going to be rated on new applicants is training experience, approach to meet different learning styles, engagement, relevancy of training topics to our audience, how effective were the resources shared, and training outlines submitted for interview. And for the existing applicants, you'll be scored on understanding of unique challenges faced with our audience, ability to build upon existing trainings, engagement, and new proposed trainings. Over you to Nick.
Hi, okay, so I'm going to talk about other exciting stuff like the cure process. So the CSE has established the option for applicant agencies to cure minor omissions in submitted proposals within 24 hours of CSE notification. The notification process is via email and telephone, call, or a voicemail message with minimal turnaround time. Failure to provide the requested information within the allotted time may result in the rejection of your submission. The CSE offers you this process as a courtesy, and as such, the CSE is not responsible for any omissions or errors in any documentation submitted by the applicant agency in response to the RFQ or cure notice. And so the person who's listed on the application is the person who the cure notice will be sent to. So please make sure that when you do your application that you have a correct email address, because once again, if it does not get back to you, we cannot guarantee that you'll hear from us in a timely manner. Selection process. All qualified proposals submitted to CSE are evaluated against all other proposals and ranked using a uniform set of criteria detailed in the rating tool. The rating committee comprises issue experts, community representatives, and council members or their designee. Scores each application and determines recommendations for all qualified proposals. Applicants will be required to give a brief presentation and be interviewed by a rating committee. Raters can adjust each applicant's original score by increasing or decreasing points based on the interview. This is just for the new applicants. Such point adjustments are at the sole and complete discretion of the rater and are not subject to the applicant appeal or justification. The higher ranking numerical scores do not necessarily assure a recommendation. Factors considered include, but are not limited to, duplication of services, proposed unduplicated number of participants, cost of services, the array of trainings, relevant experience and qualification in topic areas, and school administration or community support, among others. Minor inconsistencies or revisions may be addressed during the negotiations process at the CSE's sole and complete discretion. The CSE retains the right to accept, modify, reject, and entirely or partially reject portions of an application. Appeals are limited to procedural grounds. This is your Adama.
All right, next we'll talk about the terms of the agreement. So our period for this RFQ will be a total of 3 years. The initial term of service contract award under this agreement is October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. Contract awards may be eligible for up to 2 renewal periods, contingent upon, but not limited to, availability of funding, history of performance outcomes, achievement, past programmatic performance, agency viability, and the successful negotiation of programmatic and budgetary issues as follows. So the first, again, renewal period will be October 1st, renewal period will be October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023. And then the final renewal period will be October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. So 3 years in total for this. And then post that 3rd year, actually in that 3rd year, this RFQ or a newer version of this RFQ will be released. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I wasn't alone in my throat here. Something else wants to talk. So I'll tell you a little bit of background in terms of why we do this procurement. So it's really important for us to make sure that resources and skill building for our funded providers is high on the priority list in order to ensure the successful implementation of the program, skill building, as well as the opportunity for professional development must be in place. So since our existence, CSC has put into training and heavily invested in the training of the providers that we fund, as well as non-funded providers in the community. So as long as you're a child and a family serving nonprofit entity, you can engage with us for training. And we have really had and continue to grow a very robust calendar and subject and title list of trainings that we cover. We tend to be very responsive to local issues as well as national issues. And we just want to make sure that we're here to strengthen and improve the programs and services that are out there for children and families. And in addition to that, being, one of the hubs for our child and family serving nonprofit professionals as they build on their skills. So that just gives you a little bit of background into the heart of why we do this procurement every year. So, and another bit of background also, for the past 5 years, CSC, along with several anchor partners in the community, have been at the forefront of helping our community to get better educated about the history and present day impact of racism, and to help build and scaffold towards greater racial equity and having anti-racist systems, communities, and organizations. To that end, we put out a great body of work and also resources for our local nonprofit community, including a groundwater presentation, if you guys have not attended that, which can be a minimum of 2 hours, but upwards of a half a day training or workshop or presentation that gives you some of the fundamentals of racism and how it has been embedded in the society here. Very data rich, data driven. It really walks across several different systems and institutions and shows you where the disparities are showing up and historically how it's shown up, and gives you some of the reasons why. Moving then, we have an opportunity for folks to take part in our implicit bias and local history of racism training, which was created by our colleagues, Dr. Sue Gallagher and Michelle Higgs. And again, that can be done in a 2 hour to up to half day session. And that really dives more into locally, how has racism shown up here in Broward County? Historically, what has been some of the impacts, and to current day, what are we looking to change, to counteract some of the negative impacts that racism has had. And from there, we give an opportunity for folks to take part in the 2-day racial equity workshop facilitated by our partners at the Racial Equity Institute out of Greensboro, North Carolina. That workshop is very comprehensive. It goes pretty much soup to nuts and across all walks of life in terms of looking at race and racism in America. And then from there, we do a lot of supporting of affinity groups. We have several, some that are race-based, people of color caucus, a white caucus, and also a Latino caucus. Those roll up into a joint caucus. We have a CEO group that supports the work. And then we have 2 other agencies that solely focus on being the backbone support and also funding support for the work. So just to give you a little bit of history, we definitely want to make sure that our trainings are reflective of the things that are taught within that workshops, to be very much anti-racist practice, to be very culturally competent and culturally aware of the very dynamic nature of Broward County and the folks that make up our community, and most especially our training community, because those are the folks that are working with really our most precious commodity, which are our children. So we're really mindful to make sure that as much as we can and as we grow into it, that racial equity lens is applied to the trainings, that we continue to work within a spirit of, really understanding that cultural competency is what we should lead with, and being very mindful and aware and recognizing the differences within culture. So just want everyone to know, for our existing cadre members, you guys all know that is something that we really, drive and strive to maintain. And for those seeking to enter the cadre, it is something that you will be very quickly indoctrinated into, and know that you'll become a part of a community that upholds that as a strong value system for us here in the county and at the Children's Services Council. So moving on from there, I will turn it back over to Nicolette to talk to you a little bit about the scope of work.
Okay, so the scope of work for this trainer cadre, we're going to talk a little bit about the background. In June 2015, the Children's Services Council successfully released its first trainer cadre request for qualifications. Wow, that's so long ago. Community experts selected over 50 trainers to form CSC's trainer cadre, delivering training to staff, serving children and families in Broward County. over a cycle spanning 3 years. Since then, 2 additional RFQs have been released, and the cadre has grown to include over 70 members. The latest RFQ cycle will expire on September 30th, 2021. Therefore, we're doing this and inviting qualified individuals to develop and deliver training curricula focused on the categories outlined below. Individuals who are already part of the cadre will still be required to apply for this cadre. I'm just going to read the titles. I'm not going to read all the stuff underneath. So one of the categories is behavioral health. The second category is professional development and skill building. The third category is youth development. The fourth category, leadership development. The fifth category, diversity and inclusion. We've added a little bit into this one from last time we released this. We've got a new category, wellness, resiliency, and mindfulness, and capacity building. We also have specialty topics which are listed below: restorative justice, childhood, CPR, project-based learning, and gender-specific programming. The capacity building and the specialty topics, the contract amounts will be negotiated on a case-by-case basis. Applicants are asked to select the appropriate category based on their area of expertise on the training application and provide a subject and title. New applicants to the cadre will be required to attend a Zoom interview with the cadre rating committee between June 15th and June 16th, 2021. The completed application will include the following: the application, your resume or curriculum vitae, your references, training outline proposal form, and the tools and resources as well.
Thank you, Nick. So for our existing cadre members, you guys are very, very familiar with the fact that we really value the feedback loop between the folks that engage with us to come and take training and our trainers as well as CSE staff. So if you are a part of or have been a part of our live trainings in the building, you know that we survey after each and every training. That has continued on for our online trainings, where surveys are either provided at the end or very shortly thereafter. Our trainings, it's really important for us to know and get that feedback from our training community to see if we're meeting their needs, if there are any trends or any topics, subject areas, or areas of concern that they want some support in. So knowing that that exists and understanding that we have really been able to get some very comprehensive and robust feedback and information from folks, we also realize that that's not the only way that information is shared. We know that during and after the trainings, there's a great deal of communication between the facilitators and the attendees. Most importantly, after, I think we've all been down in one of our training rooms for at least 15 to 20 minutes, where, you know, the attendees will ask specific questions and kind of really go into depth and share some things that are very specific to their program. So we want to continue to engage with you guys as partners to hear more about what those concerns or challenges or even successes, because, you know, taking a strength-based approach is always good. What are those things that are working, right, that we can embed in more trainings and provide more opportunities to get access and exposure to, that will help us to, again, continue to strengthen our network and strengthen our service providers and the services and resources that we have out there in the community. So to this end, we're just asking you to continue to be a part of that feedback loop. And if things do rise to the surface that you think need more investigating, will require more attention, that have attracted your attention and you'd like to find out or work in partnership with CSE to find out or explore more about, that you come to us. And even specifically those maybe concern or problematic areas where we can try to either intervene or create a training or create an opportunity to do some solution focused and action focused work in response to what you guys are hearing in the classrooms. So, you know, again, most of you will feel we keep a pretty open door, you know, but that's reflective of how many people actually walk through the open door. So just inviting you guys all in, you know, to share with us the information that you get and allow us to do what we all show up to work, you know, to do and are committed to, which is help the community even more. So you'll see that outlined here in great detail in terms of some of the ways that we'd like to approach that next step of partnership with you. So you may elect to track the barriers, to participate regularly in some of the trainings that we do around it. You may work specifically with members of our research and planning or RAP department, and then may choose to help be a part of the analyzing of the data, looking at some of the trends, and helping us to respond better to our stakeholders. So that's what this section is. Again, open invitation. And from here, we're going to move into the pay scale. So training fees. Applicants will reflect the proper qualifications and experience in the application and resume submission. Applicants selected to provide training live, in person, or online will be paid in accordance with the following pay scale. Per each in-person half-day training session, which 3.5 hours minimum, or online training session, 90 to 120 minutes minimum requirement. So an associate's degree, associate's degree or lived experience, bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctorates. And then just want to highlight here that there are also fees for learning series, as well as coaching and consulting. And those fees right now are currently being determined. We're in the process of trying to determine those fees for this particular procurement, as well as some other procurements that we have that are directly centered in training, and those other two areas of service provisions that I mentioned to you before, which are series and then consulting/coaching. So updates will be posted with the written response on May 17th. You guys will receive an email regarding any changes that are made to any of the documents that were published before May 17th. And also any addendums to the document that we are going to make will be there for you to access via the CAP system. So, and we can talk a little bit more about that in detail when we get to the end. So now I'm going to turn it over to Roxanne to talk a little bit about the cone of silence.
Yes, the cone of silence. It's designed to protect the procurement process integrity by shielding it from undue influence before ensuing a contract award recommendation. It shall begin at the time of advertisement of the competitive procurement and end when the Children's Services Council makes their final funding determinations. Once the cone of silence is imposed, potential bidders, vendors, service providers, and consultants cannot communicate regarding this competitive procurement with CSC staff, the CEO, her executive assistant, Children's Services Council members, or any of the review committee members. And I think you want to go down a little bit further, Nick. There you go, appeal process. Application may appeal, or an applicant may appeal CSC recommendation by utilizing the following guidelines. Appeals are limited to procedural grounds. Any applicant who is adversely affected by a procedural determination may file a notice of appeal in writing within 72 hours following the receipt of a notice of fatal flaw or date of award determination. The notice of appeal shall be in writing and shall state the facts upon which such appeals shall be based and issues to be decided. All notices shall be directed to the President CEO at CSC 6600 West Commercial Boulevard, Lauderhill, Florida 33319. There are a few process steps after it, which I will not read. I will let you read that on your own. Where are we at? No, I think it's agreement. There you go. Whoop, just a little bit up. Thank you. A contract will be negotiated after the award for any work to be performed as a result of this RFQ. The RFQ, the proposal, and the resulting contract will constitute the complete agreement between applicant and CSC. So that's basically our process after when we want to work with you to do a training for us.
Okay, and I was just going to speak about ownership of application. Pursuant to Chapter 119 9, Florida statutes, all materials and supporting documentation submitted in response to the funding application become public record and the property of CSE. The CSE assumes and accepts no liability whatsoever for disclosure or utilization of material unidentified as trade secrets or confidential information. Also going to speak a little bit about background screening. Contact Florida Department of Children and Families for information regarding background screening. Their website is there. All consultants who have contact with clients under the age of 18, which doesn't really apply to most of our trainers, must comply with level 2 background screening and fingerprinting requirements in accordance with DCF screening requirements and all applicable federal, state, county, city, and other government agency background screening requirements prior to commencing work pursuant to the executed contract. The program must maintain staff personnel files in accordance with the state retention schedules, which reflect that a screening result was received and reviewed to determine employment eligibility prior to employment. Providers shall rescreen each employee, volunteer, and/or subcontractor every 5 years. An attestation or affidavit of good moral character must be completed annually for each employee, volunteer, and subcontractor personnel who work in direct contact with children.
So Nick, I'm just going to clarify there, just so everyone knows. So we know that predominantly most of our training happens with the adults that serve youth, but we do offer people and we do offer our trainers the opportunity to go train on site. So for some folks, that could mean that you end up at an after-school program or at a provider's brick and mortar location, depending on where it is, which you may come into contact with children. So we just want everyone to be aware that that level 2 background screening is a requirement just to ensure the safety of the children on premises. So it doesn't happen often. The large majority of our trainings do happen in our training rooms, but there are times when we do want to accommodate requests and you will train on site. And some of the sites will be, of course, because we're child and family serving organizations, places where children and families are taking part in activities. So.
And subcontracting, I'll just summarize. As Dama was saying earlier, we ask for individual applicants, not organizations. The applicant that is rated and approved to come into the cadre is the one that we are having an agreement with, the one who we are bringing forward to do the training. So we ask that no subcontracting take place. And we are, if an emergency arises, and sometimes it does, then there has to be approval from our chief communication officer to do some sort of subcontracting so someone can take your place. But overall, if we have the agreement with you, it is you that is doing the training for us. And Dama, before we move over, I just want to make one note that Pooja gave to me before she left. So for our existing trainers, we've received a couple of emails saying that you've been with us for a long time, but you cannot get into the system. Please understand that the CAPS is a brand new system, so you will have to complete a new profile. It has nothing to do with the CSE training website. This is a completely different system, so you will have to complete a brand new profile.
Thank you. And before we go into playing the CAPS video and then moving on to the last segment, which will be our Q&A, where you can ask and get your questions answered, I just wanted to open up the mic for Nicolette to share anything specific to the returning cadre members that they want to know about the differences between the two applications.
Okay, so as Adama stated, we do have this year, we're trying to make it a little bit easier for our existing cadre members who have been with us for a while. So we have tried to make the application process a little bit shorter. So the main difference is that the application, we're not asking as many questions, but we're asking some more in-depth questions. So that's the basic difference on the application form. The other big difference is that we're not asking, unless we think it is necessary for you guys to come in and do an interview. We're only requesting the new applicants to do the interview, But I did say that unless we think it necessary for you guys to come in and do an interview, we can still ask you. Also, we're not asking you to upload any training information other than your resume and references. And also the rating tool is a little bit different. I'm just going to scroll very quickly through to it so we can just see, look at the questions there. So these are the questions that we're going to be asking, that when you do your application, this is what we're going to be scoring you on. So there's a little bit of a difference there as well. Other than that, I think that is it, unless I've missed something.
No, thank you so much,
think
Nicholas,
that's it.
for making that clear. And then, as Pooja stated, we will be showing you the video for the CAPS system that will walk you through how to submit your application via that new system.
Do you want me to do that now? Yeah, okay, hold on, let me just pull it up. Hold on. How to video, how to. Hold on, I've got to find out where it is. How to apply, there it is.
Nick, if it's playing, we can't.
You can't hear it?
No. Did you press the little box for the sound?
Box for sound, where's the box for sound?
So stop sharing your screen. Go back into it again.
Yeah,
On the bottom left hand, there should be a little box about sharing your audio, sharing your sound. Do you see that?
mini player? No.
It'll
Oh,
say share sound in the very left hand corner.
hold on, let me start it again. Autoplay is on. I don't see on Zoom. It says share sound.
Yeah, when you do share screen, it's at the bottom left corner.
Okay, hold on. Share screen.
So you see all the different applications you have opened.
Yeah.
At the
Oh,
very,
share.
very bottom.
Share
sound.
Now.
There you go.
Oh, the things we learn.
Solicitation and Procurement System. CSE stands for the
Go.
Human Services Council of Broward County.
You might want to turn it up a little bit.
RFA or RLI. These stand
This will
for
be on your website?
post qualifications,
Yes, it will.
letters of interest, etc. The EIN or the SUNBIZ
Still
number,
really low, Nick.
employer identification number, and the
Just out of
AFF
those.
stands for the application for funding or the actual proposal that you will be submitting to CSC in order to get CSC funding or to be considered to get CSC funding.
We're not on the right screen, Nick.
Anytime there's a procurement that is published by CSC,
I
It's
was able to,
playing.
What was that, Jeffrey?
I was able to see it.
Okay.
So was I.
Got a message that it wasn't up. Sorry, go back. Temperamental. Some saw it, some didn't. Okay.
live procurements that may be published by CSC are all listed on this page. So currently there are no funding opportunities that are listed. However, for this tutorial, we have staged a mock procurement. So you would click on a link that leads you to the mock procurement and it would take you to a page that looks like this. So for this case, we will be working with the CAPS Training 2.0 version. You will notice that there's a brief description that has been provided by CSC, which tells you briefly what this procurement is, when it's published, and when it expires. So in this case, it was published on July 14th and it expires on July 31st. If you click on the hyperlink of the CAPS Training 2.0, it will direct you to a page that gives you a brief explanation of what this procurement is. On the top, you'll be able to see the title of the procurement. You will also see a ribbon which tells you what department it's associated with, what is the type of the procurement, the date that was published, the due date, the time remaining for you to complete the proposal or the application, and when it expires. At the bottom left, you'll see a timeline that's associated with this procurement. These are the dates that are critical and are attached to your procurement timeline. We've put some mock dates in here. For example, the date advertised was July 14th, the application deadline. So this is the deadline by which you need to have your proposal completed and submitted to CSC. The period of submission of written questions, in this case, you will see it's a period of 3 days. Any attachments are posted on the right. So your full procurement document would be posted here. Any other attachments such as the rating tool or any exhibits would also be posted under the attachments on the right hand side. To jump back to the timeline, you'll notice that there's a period of submission of written questions. This is related to the Ask a Question link at the top here. You can ask any procurement related questions through this Ask a Question link, which will only be available to you between the dates that are specified in the period of submission of written questions. This pod would automatically disappear outside the timeline that is posted under the timeline tab. If you click on Ask a Question, you'll notice that a pop-up box comes up, and this is where you can submit your question to CSC by clicking on the Submit Question link. You can access any of the attachments simply by clicking on the RFQ on the link to the Attachments tab on the right hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and click to see the full procurement document. Once you click on it, you'll notice that the system has prompted me to log in. You will need an access point to access any of the documents that are posted by CSC. If you are already an existing user, just put in your credentials and log in. But if you need to register as a user, just put in your first name, last name, and email address, and you'll be able to register that way by confirming your email address and then getting entry into the system. So for this case, we're going to use a test user and log in. Once you log in, you will see that I am back on the same page, with the exception of on the top right, you'll see that my credentials have popped up. So in this case, CSC user 2 is my first name and last name. So we'll try accessing one of the attachments again by simply clicking on the link. So once you click on the link, you'll notice that now you have accessed the resource that was posted on the main page. You are able to download the file or simply view it in the screen. If you download the file, it will be saved on your local machine in your downloads folder. So we'll go in and go back to that first page. You'll notice that you have 2 ways to start an application. On the top left where it says start a new application, or on the right where there's a blue button that says start a new application. So I'm going to go ahead and click on a start a new application. So if you notice, as soon as I click on start a new application, it brings you to a page where it asks you to complete your contact information and organization information. Had you not been logged into the system, you would have been prompted to either create an account or put in your credentials to access the system. So let's go in and confirm that your contact information is correct, whether you're an individual or an agency, and if your organization information is correct also. If you're a new user or if you've had a change in agency, you can refer to our database of agency under the Organizations tab. If your agency is not listed, you can click on Organization Not Listed, and a pop-up box asking you to complete the EIN number of your organization will come up. That box is related to Sunbiz, and once you put in the EIN number, Sunbiz will automatically populate your agency information in this box. When you scroll down, there's an application pod which asks you to give a name for this particular application. This is for your reference. If CSC has multiple solicitations or RFPs out, and if you're applying for more than one, this will help you identify which proposal or application is what under your view. So we're going to call this test for now and proceed. Under the authorized users, you have the ability to add a user that you would like to add on the application. You would need to put in their first name, last name, and also their email for that person to be notified that you have added them as an authorized user on that particular application. So for now, we will not add anyone and click on proceed. So once you click on proceed, you'll land on a page that basically shows you all the sections that need to be completed for you to apply for this procurement to CSC. So you'll notice that the type of procurement is listed, your organization name will be listed, the due date of the proposal will be listed, and the time remaining. On the right hand side, you'll notice all the sections with a modify button that need to be completed by you as an agency to be considered for funding. If you click on the details tab, you will notice that you see a larger view. This is a summary of all the questions that are asked as a part of this application. Had you already input responses, you would notice them on this page as well. If you scroll down, you will see the solicitation attachments. These are all the files that you saw on the first main page that which prompted you to either log in, or if you're already logged in, to access these files. The authorized agency users is another way that you can add an authorized user to your application. The process would be the same that was discussed when we were on the main page completing your contact information. All you would need to do is click on this pencil edit button and go in, and if you had any more entries, you can add them this way. For now, we're going to go ahead and cancel it, and we'll go back into the details view. The ask a question pod also exists on this page, but again, it would expire if you are outside of the timeline for the ask a question period. If you want to print your application, you can do so by just clicking on print. If you want to look at the solicitation information page that you saw at the beginning before we started to apply, you can simply do so by clicking on the view solicitation tab, and it brings you to the main page. When you do this, you will notice that you currently have an application under my applications tab that is in progress. This is because we started a new application for this particular procurement. So going back to this section, the files pod is currently empty. This will list all the files that are uploaded by you as an agency as you work along in this application. You can modify your application by either clicking on modify on the ribbon top left, or individually going into the section and clicking on modify. You will notice that as you complete your application for funding, the 0% will start moving along and will eventually go to 100%, which will tell you that you've completed all the sections and your application is ready to be finally submitted to CSC by clicking on a big green button that we'll see in the future. So let's go ahead and modify the first section, which is called forms. So I'm going to go ahead and click on modify. Here it is asking you to provide two pieces of information as an upload feature, the W-9 and the agency application information. You know that this is an upload feature because it's asking you to choose a file from your laptop, tablet, or personal machine. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put a test file in this case, and I'm gonna attach it right here. I'm gonna do the same for the agency applicant information and attach the test file in here. You'll notice that you'll see that both these files have been attached. So now I'm going to go ahead and do save and submit section. As soon as I do the save and submit section, you'll notice that the red X has turned into a green check mark. You are able to modify this up until the deadline. So in this case, the deadline is July 31st, and that deadline applies to all the sections. You can verify that by looking under each section and noticing the deadline date. However, if you submit it, the date will turn into a submitted on date. Keep in mind that you have the ability to submit to modify any of these sections up until the deadline date. So you'll notice that the application is saying that it's being 25% completed. If you were to fill all 4 sections out, it would go up to 100%, at which point it would be ready to be finally submitted to CSC. But if you have not done the final submit to CSC, you've completed all these sections on the right, all these sections have turned into a green check mark, you still have the ability to go in and modify the section by simply just clicking on modify. We'll get into that more once we complete some of the sections listed below. So let's go ahead and go into the agency detail section number 1. I'm going to click on modify. You'll notice that the first question is a question and answer box where the answer is being asked to be typed out. So you'll notice that the question actually has a word limit of 900 words. I'm going to start typing my answer in. So you'll notice that we have a word counter. So it's letting you know that you've used 2 words and you have 898 words remaining. If you try to type beyond 900 words, the system will automatically cut you off. If you are copy pasting a response, make sure that you clear it of any formatting. It just looks more clean when you paste it. And when you paste it, if your answer is beyond 900 words, the system will automatically cut it off at 900 words. So you want to be very mindful of the word limit, as there's no room for it to go beyond the word limit. The next question is a yes or no question. Depending on how you answer, you're able, you may see additional questions pop up. So in this case, I'm going to answer it as yes. As soon as I click yes, you'll notice that another comment box has popped up, which is asking you for additional information. Had I clicked on no, it would have ended the process right there, and I could have either saved it for later or save and submitted this section. We also want to highlight that if you're working on a section and if you have to jump on something else and your page times out, there is an autosave feature that the system has, so none of your answers would be lost. They would be saved up until the point that you were working on it for. The section would not have a green check mark. It would still have a red X, which is basically telling you that there is information pending in that section for you to go back in, verify everything, and submit it. So for now, I'm going to just show you what happens if I just save this for later. Let's say I'm just saving it. I haven't worked on the second question. So I just saved it. So what it did was it left the agency detail section number 1 as a red X, and it didn't turn into a green check mark. So let's go back in and click on modify. And now let's say you're ready to save and submit the section. So I'm going to just go ahead and click on save and submit, and you'll notice that it's turned into a green check mark. So let's go into the agency details section 2 now and modify it. So this is actually a chart. So it's asking you if you've received any funding in the past 3 years, and a chart for you has been provided for you. For you to complete this chart, you would need to click on new entry and answer the questions that are asked. And I'm just going to do test responses in here. And save my entry. So as soon as I do save entry, the responses that I typed in have now showed up in a chart format. If you did make an error in here, simply click on your entry, go back in, and you can modify it in the space that you were typing it in. I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to add another entry. So I'm just going to simply click on new entry again and follow the same process and save my entry. As soon as you do that, you will see that now you have 2 entries. When you're ready to submit the section, just simply click on submit, which will take you to the last section, which is the budget section. So let's go in and click on modify in the budget section. And you'll notice here that this question is asking you to submit your budget file. So anytime you see a hyperlink in a question, it's basically telling you that we've provided additional information for you to view. So here, a sample program budget template has been provided for you. So you would simply just click on it. What it does is it brings up the file that we've provided for you to look at. You can download and print it and fill it out and submit it back if that's what the question is asking you to do. Or if it's just a reference file, it's something for you to look at and refer to while you're putting your response in. So for now, I'm just gonna click and go back into the question itself, and you will notice that it's an upload file again. Please be mindful again as to what you're submitting for each section. I'm going to click on choose file. As soon as I click on choose file, I'm going to select what I'm submitting. So I'm going to go ahead and submit my budget form, and then I'm going to save and submit this question. So you'll notice that my application is now 100% completed. I have green check marks next to each section, and I have a big green button on the top which says submit application to CSC. What you want to take a moment now and do is review your application. You can be under the view application tab, which we saw earlier. You'll notice that all the files that you've attached, and I happen to attach the test document twice, so you'll notice that it's here twice. Any answers that you provided have also shown up in the view application. Your chart has shown up. The file that you provided, the budget form, has also shown up. Additionally, on the right hand side, you'll notice under the files pod, all the files that were uploaded by you are now showing up in this pod. If you scroll up and realize that if you've made an error or want to modify something, you can simply do so by clicking on the modify button. So I'm going to go back and edit my answer and click on save and submit the section. So it allows you to modify it up until the deadline date of what's listed on that particular procurement. So in here it's July 31st. So considering everything is completed, you are ready to submit your final application to CSC. And once you do that, you will not be able to modify any of the sections under your AFF or for your proposal. I do want you to see that currently your application is sitting under the status of in progress, and you will notice that as soon as you submit, that status will change. So let's go ahead and submit that final application to CSC. So once you do that, it will again give you a prompt that you will not be able to make any modifications. Are you sure you want to submit your application? I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And now you will notice that my application status has changed to submitted. I no longer have access to the modify buttons or the modify on the top ribbon. And the application has been submitted to CSC for review. This concludes our training. Thank you.
Okay, I know that was very, very comprehensive. I know she's not with us, but I'll give a shout out to Pooja. We definitely try to.
Sorry, just trying to
Some background music. No, I think that's the first time ever I've had background music. So the video is available for you to review again, because we know it was very in-depth and it's a lot of information to cover, but that is the reason why we recorded it, because it's a lot of information to know and to process. So we have it there. You can go review any particular sections that you need to revisit, or as you're going through the process, if you need to reference it, it is there for you. But in addition, we also provide live technical assistance through our MIS department, as Pooja mentioned. And as Roxanne said, you can send messages to them directly when you're going through the system and you have an issue. I'm sorry, someone's unmuted. Thank you. So we are here and we will try to help you, but they are the experts and we defer to them. So when you contact us, we'll probably just going to be reaching right back out. So may be helpful. And if it's a timely thing, you may want to reach out to them directly first, but know that we are always here to support. So at this point, we're going to open up the floor for any questions that anyone has.
Pooja is still here. If
Oh, hey,
anybody had
Pooja.
questions, if anybody had questions about caps, Pooja is actually still here.
Good. I'm glad you're with us, Pooja. Great job again. Every time I see the video, it's really, really so thorough.
Thank you.
So opening it up, the
Yeah,
floor
I
for
have
questions.
I have a question. This is Amy Bernstein. So I saw, it was going quick, so I didn't get all of this, but I saw funding received from CSC. Is funding the same as payments received from CSC, or is this different? In other words, payments for training, is funding the same as payments for training, or is funding a whole different category?
So in this tutorial, I had just made up mock questions, so I would not pay attention to the questions that you were listening to. The concept of the question was to show you a chart format that if you have two options, you can select either option and upload your answer in that manner.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for a detailed overview of the process and application. I'm wondering if you have a community needs assessment or perhaps assessments from providers that would demonstrate community needs for different kinds of trainings or perhaps the general patterns.
So that's what we based the subject areas and topics that we came up with. So we do ongoing assessments of all of our trainings, right? And in that, we ask questions in terms of where people can grow within our training community for themselves as individuals, as well as as their organizations. And then annually, we put out a survey, a training survey. And I think, Nick, we can share some of the data of the last survey that we had. Don't rush, Nicolette, we can repeat it again, but it's just information related to the survey. So there, we really have several different information channels that we use. So the first would be just ongoing, every individual training. We make sure that we're, taking a good look at what's coming out of those surveys. In addition, we do an annual training survey just to get an idea of, if we missed anything, if there's a gap, you can say, this came up. And then also just trends. We were probably, and then Charlene, I think you're on the line and you can speak to this. We were probably one of the first organizations to respond in a very comprehensive way around ACEs, right? And it came from really listening to our partners, listening to our training community, and then taking action. So that's just one example, but it really is kind of how we operate. And then according to what the trends are, you'll see that outline. Like if you look in the mindfulness and self-care, that is a area that has evolved over the course of the past few years for us, now to the point where it's made it into our cadre. We've been incorporating trainings in that topic, in that subject area, somewhat under the behavioral and mental health category, but now that's been pulled out. So you'll see that as an evolutionary trend in how we approach the training topics, but we are always open. But do know that constant, assessing and looking at what's happening is ongoing, but we can provide you surveys if you'd like.
Yes, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I had a question for Pooja, back to the caps. I like to print things out and look at them. It gives me another way to look at them. I missed how to print out an application that hasn't been submitted yet. It's still in draft form.
So on your top ribbon, you should have the modify view solicitation. If you see a print button, you can click on it and it will print your application. Another way is just to do file print. It prints the entire screen on one page, so you can access it however you wish to.
Okay, thanks.
I had I'm not sure my question got answered about the money. So we've been a provider for maybe 5 years or so for training, and we've had a contract, and it was different than that $550 a half day or $1,100, $1,300 a day. Are those apples and oranges, or is that something new that you only can charge $1,100, $1,300 a day?
Jeffrey, I can answer you. Some of the projects and some of the trainings that we do are listed under the special categories, and we do separate contracts for those.
And so do I need to get any more information from one of y'all as to submitting that in this new format?
When you work with PS, because I believe it's PS department you work with to do your contracting, so you would still just go through them, the same process that we've done before.
I have, this is Scott. Hi, thanks for the presentation. I have a question on, I know I heard we apply as an individual, makes sense, but that it sounds like we still put the organization we're associated with, their EIN, the insurance would be their insurance, really, diversity policy. That's kind of the first question. Do I have that right?
So again, I created the insurance question in the procurement to see the logic of if you said yes, something pops up. If you said no, it ends the process. So it's really procurement based. I can have Adama address if there is an insurance question in this trainer cadre RFQ or not. But you can apply as an individual or as an agency. So when you click on start a new application, if you're an agency, you would have to input your EIN number, and it should populate your agency. It's linked to Sunbiz. If you're not an agency and just an individual, you'll have a separate questionnaire that pops up for you to complete the details that the system asks you for.
Okay.
Great.
If it is associated with an agency, does the agency must be a nonprofit, or it doesn't matter?
I will defer this to Adama.
Yes, thank you. So, and I think rule of thumb to make it easier for someone, wherever your paycheck is cut from, right, in associated with the training that you're doing. So if you're going to be on the clock and your employer is paying you, then as a representative of that organization doing the training with CSC, then you need to lead with that lead organization. We do have some people who work for an organization, but when they train with us, they take the day off, formally take the day off with their day jobs, and they train under their own business. But again, it has to be a registered and licensed business. It can't be just, I'm popping up and CSC will cut me a check. You have to have a business. So however you're showing up, if your employer is cutting you a check, like if this is a part of the hours that come within your natural paycheck that you get every 2 weeks or twice a month, then you need to fill the application out with that lead organization. If by chance, Scott, you have your own organization and you are doing training through that organization and you take the day off or however you have it arranged with your employer, and you are getting paid and we're cutting the check directly to you, then you lead with that organization. There was a second part to that, Pooja, that I think I might have missed. I'm so sorry. What was the second part?
The second part, that lead organization need to be a nonprofit, or can it be a for-profit?
It can be a government, and it's stated in the document.
So it can be for-profit?
It can be a government or a for-profit agency, yes.
Okay.
It just cannot be the school board of Broward County. As you heard, we read, no one that's funded by the Department of Health. Department of Education.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question, Scott.
Yes, I also had a question associated to liability insurance. I believe when you shared the application, there was an indication that if awarded a contract, liability insurance would be required. And I don't believe that it was a requirement in the past. So I wanted to confirm, to clarify that yes, indeed, all the trainers would be expected to provide you with the liability insurance. Unless I did not read what you shared correctly.
No, the insurance is a requirement.
It is a requirement. Okay, thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry, did you say isn't a requirement or is? I didn't catch that.
It is a requirement. You should be licensed and insured. Well, not licensed, but you should be insured.
I never was insured for years. Is this new?
But for the past few years, we have been asking for you to be insured.
It is a section on our, in
It
our
is.
consulting agreement. It's not new. Ire, I think I'm saying your name right. Diaz, your hand has been up for quite some time. Do you still have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I actually have 4 questions. Do I ask them all now or?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So the first question is, I'm a bit confused regarding the individual application versus an agency or an organization. Does an individual, if somebody applies as an individual, do they have to be incorporated as a business? Or can a licensed mental health practitioner apply individually without being a business?
You need to be a business.
Okay. And so
In order,
regarding,
well, at least you need to have a W-9. You have to be able to fill out that W-9 form.
can you fill it out with a social security number?
Yes, you can. You
Okay.
can be an independent consultant if your business is your name. We do have many trainers who are independent consultants. So apply and put down on the application as it would be on the W-9 if we work with you, because that is
Okay.
what's going to be put on the consulting agreement. So if it's your name or if it's your business name, and that's what the CAPS was saying, there's a line for either your business name, and if it's individual, then you check that button and then you provide your social security number instead of your EIN number.
Okay. Now, if it's somebody that's part of a business, the liability insurance has to be the business liability or insurance, or can it be like a license, like an LCSW liability insurance, or both?
Sorry, I know we're jockeying. So it needs to be whatever insurance that you've been doing your training or your services under. So if, as to Scott's question, if he is training under the business, it will be the insurance policy that that business or organization carries. If you're training as an individual, it will be the insurance that you as the individual carries. You cannot crisscross them. So if you're there representing yourself, you cannot put down your company or your employer's insurance to cover you. Freestanding is how it goes. So if you're there that day as yourself, right, not as a representative of the
Right.
organization, you have to have your own insurance.
Okay. So does if someone works for a CSC funded agency, am I allowed to apply as an individual trainer?
Yes, we do have trainers that work for CSC funded
Okay.
organizations.
And then the last question is, or actually 2, is I know there are categories. Is the applicant limited to the training outline and topic that you propose in the application? Or do you do additional trainings later, or do you have to submit a topic and an outline for every training that you're thinking of?
We do, and you'll see that in that section, if you read, it says these are the highly in high demand and suggested, but it's not limited to. We are open to exploring and taking any type of outline that shows a new training that we're not currently doing. It just has to be well thought out. It just can't be your idea. It's the same type of guidelines that we would follow to do a training. We'd expect the same, thoroughness and detail in what you want to propose. It can't just be, I think this would be nice to do. It has to be a very well thought out and very clear and precise outline. But yes, we are open, just so everybody knows. And I think it states that in the text that it's not limited to these topics alone.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't ask the question clearly. If I'm interested in doing more than one training throughout the year, do I present at the time of application outlines for each one of them, or you just want a sample?
No, you can just provide a sample, but at a later point, when you get into
Right.
contracting, you can give us, you can at that point run down. And then if you're submitting an app, when you submit your resume, if you can include some of the topics in the resume, or you can talk a little bit about them in the narrative. There's a few different ways where you can kind of give us a window into what you are interested in.
Okay, thank you.
Roxanne, I know you wanted to add on.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say that there's a maximum of 4 proposals that you can upload. But I like the suggestion that Adama provided, that if there are other trainings that you're interested in providing, then weave it into your resume, because we do go back to that. There's only so many applications we can all read, and we all have to read them. Our raters all have to read them, so we had to cap it. But yeah, you can weave that into the other information that you provide us.
And thank you, Heidi. I want to just raise up what she said, because if we don't want people to feel limited to just those subjects and topics, we do want, if you have things that you feel will be applicable and very much could benefit our training community, please put those trainings in.
Shakira's had her hand up. Shakira, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. All right, good afternoon. Thank you for the session. Very informative. Sorry for my entry. I think I was disturbing you a little. I was leaving one Zoom and coming into this one. So I have a few questions just for points of clarification. All right, so as an educational consulting firm, should the firm apply and send out the most compatible instructor based on their degrees? So meaning, have that person apply, or would the firm apply as an overarching umbrella? Because we have, various individuals that may be, applicable to certain topics. Or should the instructors all apply one by one based on where the best match is for them? Or should we do the filtering process and apply as an overarching firm, and we send, because I noticed where you mentioned no subcontracting. It wouldn't be subcontracting because they all are either 1099ers under us or just instructors with the firm. So should we do that filtering process and just we apply and send the appropriate individual out, or would there have to be individual applications, all with their, curriculum vitae and resumes, all individual applications?
So you want to go ahead, Rodon?
No, you go ahead. No, don't worry. I did it the first time. You can go the second.
It's all good. So they may not be considered subcontractor for you, but they are considered subcontractor for us. So let's say, Shakira, you go through the rating process, you come into our cadre, you're the one who went through the rating process, you're the one that we did the agreement with. So that would be considered subcontracting if you decide to give it to a coworker because you can no longer do it. So the best solution would be for those that you want to be considered from your organization to be trainers through CSC, then each of them would individually apply and go through the rating process individually. Did you want to add anything, Adama?
I will give some background to it so everyone understands why it's a competitive procurement process. So honestly, by just leaving it open to an organization coming in blanketly and maybe sending their best staff person, we can ensure that every other person within that organization really meets the criteria and standards that we're looking for, right? That's one. Then also for fairness, there is a window within which this procurement is open. Even if you submitted a list of folks at the beginning, people within organizations turn over very frequently, right? And how can we ensure now that this organization doesn't have their own rolling body of staff that could come through? So just to, adhere to the fidelity of what we feel our training should be in terms of the quality and just, and also the outlaid procurement process, we do not leave an open window for a training entity to just send you know, whatever staff member they want. We've also had people try to, under a blanket of they work for my organization, send people who did not meet the educational requirements, did not have the training background and experience. So really to just make sure that we safeguard what we do, we ask for each trainer to apply and interview with us individually. That's just so you guys have some more clarity on why we have that in place.
Okay, thank you for that. That makes sense. Okay, and then the second component is in regards to the topic listing. So after we log off today, we should be able to access the PDF that you explained to us today. Are we able, because I'm new to this, so I'm not a returning person. I'm just this first time applicant. So we can access the PDF. The topics are inclusive within the PDF, I assume. That can be located where?
First of all, welcome, Shakira. So
Yes.
happy that you're with us. We always love to attract new trainers. I'm not sure how you found out about the pre-bid conference today, but probably within that was a link to where you can download the documents. You do have to first tell the system who you are, the CAP system, and then you'll have access to the application and all the attachments that go along with this. And this document that was shown earlier is one of them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, here for any other questions. Did we do such a fantastic? I don't hear any of our veteran trainers asking any questions. We have a brand new system. Everyone seems to just be okay with it. So
I think Marla does.
okay, Marla.
I'll ask a
quick
question.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Marcy, would you like to go?
Go.
So what I'm understanding, I did look through it. I did download the application, and it looks like then when I go into the system, I'll be able to just input everything, kind of copy and paste into the CAP system. Okay. And then it does say, do I have any new training topics? In the downloaded printed piece, it only looks like there's one possible new training topic that I could suggest. Would that be correct?
If you read the instructions when you get there, it'll actually tell you there's a little button right underneath the instructions. If you want to add another one, you just press that button and then the field will come up again for you to add all the information over again for something new.
Got it. Okay, yeah. I only printed it, so that's why the little button's not there. I'm glad to hear that. And then I understand that really what we need to do is provide our resume, our CV, and the W-9. At some point, if we are then chosen to be part of the trainer cadre, we need to then kind of do the list of the list of other documents, which is on page 8, like the drug-free workplace, the ADA compliance policy. Those are things that will be asked after we are offered the possibility of being part of the cadre, correct? Okay.
I don't see anyone unmuting themselves. Yes, Marla, that is correct.
Okay, that was what I thought because it said you will be asked after, but I wanted to ensure that it wasn't something I needed to be uploading. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thanks, Marla. How about you, Marcy?
Okay, so first I just want to comment that, as a veteran trainer, I appreciate the new format because I do think it's going to be a lot easier to do rather than having to print out and all of those other kinds of things and do it that way. So I appreciate that. Not that I've done it yet, but I appreciate it because I think it's going to be much easier for us, even those of us who are technologically challenged. I think the video is helpful in having it to show again. So that's my comment. The question I have is about the learning to lead and whether or not we need to submit that through this process. Or is that's too specific a question?
You do not have to submit learning to lead through this process.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, this is specific to.
Great. Thank
Yes,
you.
you're welcome. Thank you. All right, we're open to any other questions.
I have a question. So if somebody else's question prompted me to think of this. So if you're applying as an individual, there's no such thing as drug-free workplace or any of those other policies. What happens then?
That is a good question. I don't think we've ever been asked by an independent consultant. And again, hoping that you adhere to all of those policies for yourself. But standard practice, I think if anything happens, we can reach out to you and we can at least maybe share our standards. So I guess, Roxanne, we'll go back. Let's ask HR. That really is an HR question. I don't know then, Iria, if it just defaults to just our standard practice, we will find out and we'll get back to you. This is the first time we've been asked that.
Okay, I mean, I can always write a policy for myself.
And I have a question. In terms of the insurance, you have specific guidelines about how much you have to be insured for?
Amy, we will post that so everyone is very clear. We'll pull it from the contracting language and make sure that we post it.
Thank you so much.
We're also going to do the same about the nonprofit and government standards, because again, those are, we stated in the documents and it is stated in your contract that we at will can request those that information, but it is a given when you come and apply that you have that. It is asked as a prerequisite with the discretion of, verifying left with us, but we'll make sure that we pull that language out and put it in writing for everyone to read.
Hi, Adama. I'm referencing Iris' question before, and since you mentioned, I think it would be best that you contact your HR and they draft something that we just acknowledge or sign, or because for those of us that are, just individual contractors or whatever, we don't have any of those policies.
Right.
I Googled them and submit a bunch of paper, but it would be better, that you tell us what we need to do.
Yes, Rafael, and you know what? I love that suggestion, and that's why I thought of HR. But I don't know if it is on a scale. Where do our standards fall, and could that be a baseline? So before I give you a definitive answer, I want to check with HR. There could be maybe standards that are slightly below or above that, right? That we want to have any of our partners or consultants come in by default if you don't have your own. So I'll go back to HR, but I love your suggestion. Thank you.
I have my own. I just don't have them out.
I'm going to tell you to send one to Iris so she can work under yours.
I think actually the county has templates for that. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have and you want to check with them, they provide templates for those also.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. It's just great.
I was going to say, perhaps by the time we do the trainer cadre orientation too, we'll have some of that information as well, and perhaps have some templates to work from.
And now that Marcy spoke, my audio went out when she was asking a question, and then I just heard, "Oh, you don't have to submit that," but I didn't know. So I remembered that. Thank you, Marcy. I have to thank everybody for their questions. But what was that you asked that we didn't have to submit? I don't know. Your last question was something.
Oh, she was asking Rafael.
Yes.
She was asking about a specific program. She was asking about a specific program. So it's
That's
not relevant to this. All right, gonna open it up before we bid you all adieu. Any additional questions? Thank you so much for being with us. Hopefully,
hi, Adama. This is
Owen. Oh, hello. Hi. How are you? I haven't seen you in so long.
I know.
Very nice to see you, Emily.
It's nice to see everybody's faces. Just a quick question about the insurance. I've been acting as an independent consultant. I do have a registered business, but it's all been freelance consulting, so I haven't had insurance. So moving forward, I guess I need to get that in order to apply for this next cadre, which is fine, but I wanted to check and make sure, because I missed this along the way, is that going to be necessary at the time of application or once you've just, okay, I see lots of shaking heads, you have made my day. Okay, so I can take a little time to figure out what I need to do moving forward with that. All
And
right.
we'll post the minimums, Emily, so you know,
Yeah.
right? We'll do that. We're gonna make sure that it's in writing for everyone who needs to reference it in terms of the insurance as well as some of the other documentation and the policies and procedures that have been referenced.
Perfect. I just want to make sure I have it at the right time. Thank you so much.
All right, opening up the floor. And you do again have the, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, last chance for live questions, and they've been great. Thank you.
Yes, definitely got some new questions. And you do have the option and ability to submit questions in writing. So if something, you know, strikes you that you didn't get to answer live and with us, then you definitely can submit those questions, and we will make sure that it's part of the written responses that we submit back to you guys. And if you do need us, do know, as Roxanne stated, we will be back under a cone of silence after we end this call. So we cannot answer your specific questions about this procurement, but we can answer other questions. And we look forward to seeing your amazing applications and your interviews.
So last minute review of the RFQ for the existing trainers. On page 7 in F, when submitting through CAPS, following documents will be required, and I didn't see it in CAPS, and it may be that it's part of the new trainer thing. C, upload of references, minimum of 3.
You're absolutely correct, Judith. And we'll add that to the Q&A document. We actually discovered that this morning. It is not required for existing trainers to upload 3 references. You've already gone through that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Judy came in right at the close.
You know, it's that proofreading gene,
That's right. All right, guys, thank you so much for being with us. Oh, no, Irene, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So that reminds us, does uploading a reference mean like a letter from the person or just their information?
We just require the information.
Okay.
And it'll say specifically what it is that we ask for: name, phone number, email address, you know, contact information.
Okay, I didn't know if I had to go chase letters down.
Okay. All right, guys, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much.
Everyone.
You all.
Bye. Thanks. Nice seeing everyone.
Bye. Nice to
Thank
see
you,
everybody.
everyone. Look forward to seeing your applications.
Okay.